Healthy outside starts from inside. Protect your kidneys and save your heart. Good morning all. The topic for today is the first step of urine formation, that is glomerular filtration. After going through my PPTs, you will be able to define glomerular filtration and give its normal value. You will be able to list the various hydrostatic and the colloid pressures which are acting across the glomerulus. The ability to explain the mechanism of glomerular filtration will be clear. You can describe the determinants of the glomerular filtration and also list the various factors that affect glomerular filtration. And of course, we will have some pathological variations discussing in the end of the slide. Now, as you all know that the steps of urine formation involves the three important basic steps, that is glomerular filtration, tubular reabsorption and tubular secretion. Finally, the urinary excretion is the outcome of filtration across the glomerular membrane minus reabsorption of the solutes or of the water from the tubular lumen into the blood and addition of the secretory products from the tubular lumen into the tubular lumen from the blood. So we can see here there are the three processes where number 1 indicates the glomerular filtration, 2 and 3 represents the reabsorption from the tubular lumen into the peritubular capillary network, and 3 represents the secretion of the metabolic waste which were unable to be filtered across the glomerulus. They are secreted from the peritubular capillaries into the tubular lumen, leading ultimately to the final formation of the urine. Now, on the basis of these three steps, that is glomerular filtration, tubular reabsorption and tubular secretion, there are the excretion rates of different substances varied. Now, if a substance is only filtered across the glomerulus, there is no reabsorption and there is no secretion of that substance, then for that particular substance the excretion rate is equivalent to the filtration rate. Okay. Now B shows a substance where filtration is occurring and of course that substance is getting partially reabsorbed. So that means when a substance is getting filtered across the glomerulus, it will appear into the tubular luminal fluid and some portion of it gets reabsorbed back into the peritubular capillaries. So the excretion rate of such kind of substance is equal to filtration rate minus the portion which is getting reabsorbed. Then C refers to the substance where the filtration is along with complete reabsorption is occurring. So in that case, where there is filtration and the complete reabsorption, in that case the substance will not be appearing into the urine. In such a case, the excretion rate of such a substance will be 0. And finally, for a substance which is getting filtered and also getting secreted, here the excretion rate will be the filtration rate plus the secretion rate. So one thing I would like to make clear at this point, that reabsorption refers to the transfer of the substance from the lumen, tubular lumen into the capillaries so that it will not appear in the urine, and secretion refers to the transfer of a substance from the capillaries into the tubular lumen so that it appears into the urine. Okay. Now, finally, moving on to the mechanism of the urine formation, as I already told you that this is the first step, which is glomerular filtration. And as you all know that this step starts in the glomerulus, which has a total diameter of about 200 micrometers. and the total surface area of the glomerular across which the filtration is taking place is about 0.8 meters square. Glomerular filtration is the first step in urine formation, and as the fluid leaves the Bowman space and passes through the tubules, it is modified through the other two processes finally form the urine. So amount which is filtered will appear here, followed by amount reabsorbed, which will be reabsorbed back, and finally the substance which will be secreted ultimately will appear into the tubular lumen and it will be excreted out into the urine. Fine. Now, what actually glomerular filtration is and how is this occurring is explained by a hypothesis which is known as Bowman's and Ludwig's hypothesis. It says that blood under high pressure is entering into the glomerular capillaries from its afferent end. Right, and this blood under high pressure is filtered across highly permeable glomerular capillaries into the Bowman space. Here at this point, I would like to make you clear that the glomerular capillaries are having great pressure, and the permeability of the glomerular capillaries is about 50 times more than the capillaries of the skeletal muscle. They are highly fenestrated and having lot amount of permeability. So finally, under high pressure, when this fluid gets filtered, this filtered fluid so formed is free of the cellular contents and the proteins, and the word therefore known as ultrafiltrate is utilized for this fluid. So that means ultrafiltrate is actually a filtrate which is formed by filtration of the fluid across the glomerulus, and it is a filtrate which is free of the cellular contents and the proteins. And the rate at which the glomerular filtrate is formed each minute by all the nephrons of both the kidneys is referred to as the glomerular filtration rate. Again, a very important definition. What is glomerular filtration rate? Now the value is must to remember, that is 125 ml per minute, or in terms of days it is 180 liters per day or 7.5 liters per hour. So that means in a day about 180 liters of glomerular filtrate is formed. But here a question arises in the minds that if there is 180 liters of filtrate being formed per day, then how much urine are we excreting out per day? Is it 180 liters? Of course not. The amount of urine which we are excreting is just about 1 to 1.5 liters per day. So what is the importance of filtering large amount of fluid across the glomerular capillaries and putting a load on the kidneys? Definitely this has something very interesting to do. The most important advantage of such high amount of GFR is that the kidney becomes highly efficient in removing excess of waste products from the body. And because the metabolic waste utilizes glomerular filtration as their prime mean of excreting out waste, the kidney becomes highly efficient in their metabolic control activities. Most of the waste products are poorly reabsorbed, and therefore high GFR is very important for their removal. Second advantage of high GFR is that it allows all the body fluids to be filtered and processed by the kidneys many times each day. So we can see that the nature has given us such a beautiful mechanism to put a check on the body fluid composition, that several times the fluids get filtered across the kidneys so as to remove any small bit of metabolic waste that is floating or circulating into our body fluids. So this shows that because the entire plasma volume is just 3 liters and GFR is about 180 liter per day. So it's a simple calculation. We can analyze that the plasma is processed at least 60 times each day. Like 60 into 3 gives 180. So this means that plasma is processed 60 times each day, thus clearing all the metabolic wastes from the blood. So such is the efficiency of our kidney in purifying the blood. So this helps in the composition control and control of the volume of the various body fluids. Alright, now when we are talking about glomerular filtration, the first thing which comes to our mind is what is that important surface or what is that important barrier across which the glomerular fluid is getting filtered. So here we are discussing about the glomerular filtration membrane. And as you all know that glomerulus is nothing but the anastomosing network of capillaries which is lined by fenestrated endothelium. And the Bowman's capsule is a cup-shaped depression which has got two layers. Okay, the inner layer and the outer layer. So the outer layer of the Bowman's capsule is the parietal layer and the inner layer is known as the visceral layer. See in this diagram, this is the outer layer of the Bowman's capsule, and this layer which is just adherent, this particular layer which is just adherent to the glomerular capillaries is this one is the visceral layer. Now the space, this potential space between the visceral layer and the parietal layer is known as the Bowman's space. So this Bowman's space is the potential area where the fluid gets collected. This is the visceral layer and this is the parietal layer. Now the filtration barrier is basically made up of these three important layers. The capillary endothelium, as I am showing you in this diagram, which clearly shows a cut section of the glomerular capillary, and this glomerular capillary has got fenestrations. These are the fenestrations in the glomerular capillaries. This is the endothelial layer, and just endothelial layer is resting on a basal lamina. So this endothelial layer is resting on this basal lamina, and the basal lamina is covered by these finger-like processes which are nothing but the processes of the Bowman's visceral epithelium, which we just talked about in my previous slide, and are known as the podocytes. Podo refers to foot, and so because these visceral epithelial cells are specialized cells having finger-like projections, they are referred to as the podocytes. Okay, we'll be discussing about each layer one by one. So just primarily to remember that the filtration barrier is having three important layers. First of all, we'll be talking about the glomerular filtration membrane, which is the endothelial layer. So again, here it is just a simple diagram to explain you how these three layers are getting formed. See, you can see a podocyte over here, which is nothing but a specialized cell of the Bowman's visceral epithelium, and this podocyte have got finger-like projections, and these finger-like projections are covering the glomerular capillary. This is the capillary lumen and this is the glomerular capillary basement membrane. So the podocytes encircles the capillary lumen, thus forming a part of the layer. This is the endothelial layer, this is the GBM or the glomerular basement membrane, and these are the podocytes. The capillary endothelium. Talking about capillary endothelium first, it is highly fenestrated. Point you should remember always, the endothelium is highly fenestrated. As I already told you, the surface area for filtration is very high for the glomerular capillaries. It is highly fenestrated with a pore size of about 70 to 90 nanometers. So the pores are 70 to 90 nanometer, and they are freely permeable to water and small solutes and small proteins. So the glomerular endothelium is freely permeable. You can see here, this is a slide photograph which shows you the glomerular capillary endothelium with lots of fenestrations, and these pores are freely permeable to water, small solutes and small proteins. They are impermeable to RBC, WBC and platelets. This should be remembered. Apart from that, certain other very low molecular weight substances which cannot pass through this endothelium are the calcium and certain low molecular weight fatty acids, because these are bound to the plasma proteins, and plasma proteins are not filtered across the endothelium. Just only a small amount of traces of very small protein might get filtered. Okay, endothelial cells are retarding the filtration of anionic plasma proteins. Why? Because of their negatively charged glycoprotein layer. So again, this is something very important to remember, that the endothelium has got a pore size which can allow the proteins to pass, but the proteins do not pass across this layer because this complete surface is lined by negative charge, and as you all know that plasma proteins are negatively charged, so negative charges repel each other. So this is how the filtration barrier is made by the capillary endothelium, which allows filtration of just water and small solutes and avoiding any kind of cell as well as anionic plasma proteins. Alright, the next layer after the glomerular endothelial layer is the glomerular basement membrane. The basement membrane on which the glomerular endothelial cells rests is made up of type 4 collagen. Again, something which you should not forget at all. Type 4 collagen is the major constituent of the basement membrane, and apart from that, other important substances which contribute to the formation of the basement membrane includes the laminin and the proteoglycans. Glomerular basement membrane has got electron dense layer, central layer, which is known as lamina densa, and the rara interna and the externa are the other thinner layers. This is an electron microscopy feature which is not of much concern for us. The important thing here to remember is that it is an important filtration barrier for the plasma proteins. So basement membrane is because it is a charge selective filter. That means it filters the substances on the basis of their electric charge. It is referred to as a charge selective filter, and as it is negatively charged because of type 4 collagen and proteoglycans, these will repel any kind of protein, any kind of anionic protein which manages to escape the capillary endothelial pores. So at the first level, the proteins are stopped by the endothelium of the glomerular capillary, and if they manage to pass across the glomerular endothelium, they are stopped by the basement membrane. Alright. So here you can see, here is a diagram which shows the capillary endothelium followed by the basement. This is the lumen of the glomerular capillary with endothelial cells, followed by the basement membrane showing the 3 electron microscopic features, that is lamina densa and rara interna and externa, through which the substance are stopped. And finally we have the third layer, that is the visceral layer of the Bowman's capsule. Now, what is this visceral layer of the Bowman's capsule or the podocytes, and why it is called so? Podocytes, as I already told, are long finger-like processes which are encircling the outer surface of the capillary. Just imagine that this is the capillary, and the capillary is being encircled by long finger-like processes which interdigitate and are separated by small gaps. These are the small gaps which are known as the filtration slits. So you can see these are the podocytes, these are the finger-like food processes of the podocytes, which are nothing but a part of the Bowman's visceral epithelial cell, and the podocytes are separated by a area with this area which is known as the filtration slit. Now this filtration slit are bridged by diaphragms which are known as the filtration slit diaphragm. Okay, so here I can show you this diagram which shows that these are the podocytes are separated by a filtration slit, and this filtration slit is joined by a diaphragm. This complete diaphragm, this is the diaphragm which is known as the slit diaphragm. Now this filtration slit diaphragm is having small pores. These filtration slit diaphragm is having small pores, and these pores are about 4 to 14 nanometers in size. And the filtration slits also have a negative charge, and therefore it restricts proteins. So what does it mean? It means that the Bowman's visceral epithelium, that is visceral epithelial cells, are surrounding the glomerular capillary, and the visceral epithelial cells have got long finger-like processes. The processes have got a space which is known as the filtration slit. This is the filtration slit. It is about 40 nanometer in size, and the filtration slit is joined together by this diaphragm. The filtration slits have a diaphragm through which the filtrate is going to pass, and the slit diaphragm is having pores. So slit diaphragm is again having pores through which the fluid will pass from the capillary lumen through the endothelial fenestration, through the GBM, and finally through the pore of the slit diaphragm, finally to reach into the Bowman's space. So here this is the Bowman space where finally the fluid will reach. Alright. So we have certain characteristics of the filtration barrier, as we are reading that it is highly permeable. The important thing is that this permeability, selectivity. The permeability is also very selective. Going to remember is the pore size. The permeable selectivity is based on the pore size, which says that molecules less than 4 nanometer in size can easily be filtered. Okay, and molecules which are more than 8 nanometer are not filtered at all, whereas the molecules which are between 4 to 8 nanometer in size, their filterability depends on their diameter as well as on their electric charge. So electric charge is the other selectivity point, which says that all those substances which are negatively charged will not be filtered, because the endothelium is lined by negative glycoprotein layer. The basement membrane is also negatively charged, so that means negative charges will not be filtered. Molecules with a diameter more than 8 nanometer will not be filtered, and therefore we can say that albumin with a molecular size of 6 nanometer is not filtered because it is negatively charged and it is repelled by the negative charge of the basement membrane. So here many times a question is asked why albumin is not filtered across the glomerular membrane though its size is 6 nanometer. So the answer is that because it is a negatively charged molecule, it will not be filtered across the glomerular membrane, the filtration membrane, because it will be repelled by the negative charge of the basement membrane and the endothelium. Okay, now moving forward, we'll have a look about the substances which are filtered across the glomerulus. Like you can see that urea is completely filtered, its value in plasma and in the tubular filtrate is almost the same. Even the glucose and the amino acids are completely filtered, but the proteins are not at all filtered. Their filtration of protein across the glomerular membrane is almost negligible, and this is the reason that whenever there is appearance of protein in urine, it is a sign of kidney disorder. It is a sign of renal damage. Therefore, proteinuria is an important symptom, and testing of protein in urine is a part of the renal function test. And some substances like glucose and amino acids, which are though filtered across the glomerular membrane, they are completely reabsorbed back from the proximal convoluted tubule, and they do not appear in the urine at all. Okay. Now here we have something which is very important related to the glomerular filtration barrier, a term which is known as nephrotic syndrome, characterized by the increased permeability of the glomerular membrane to the proteins, including the loss of podocyte structure. So nephrotic syndrome is a kidney ailment which is characterized by the appearance of proteins in urine, and this results because there is loss of the filterability of the glomerular membrane, and the glomerular membrane permeability gets highly increased because of the loss of the podocyte structure, because of the loss of the glomerular basement membrane. That is why a lot of protein gets filtered. A kind of nephrotic syndrome, which is known as minimal change disease, is a condition in which too much of proteins gets filtered, and this thing is not visible histologically at all because there is a loss of the negative charge of the glomerular basement membrane, which cannot be seen in the histological section. This is a very important MCQ question, most frequently asked in all the entrance examinations. So you can see that normal glomerular capillary and the capillary with lot of proteinuria, showing excess of protein exudation through the glomerular capillaries. Another important syndrome which is associated with the glomerular basement membrane is Alport syndrome. Again, a very important MCQ question, characterized by glomerulonephritis, that is the infection of the glomerular nephrons, and hematuria, that is appearance of blood cells in urine. And the most important thing to remember in Alport syndrome is the reason, which is defect in the type 4 collagen of the GBM, and this defect in type 4 collagen occurs because of a genetic mutation in the COL4A3 and COL4A4 genes. This Alport syndrome leads to abnormality in the glomerular basement membrane. You can see split and laminated glomerular basement membrane in case of Alport syndrome, because the type 4 collagen is absorbed, and this is basically because of COL4A4. It is characterized by kidney disease and associated with abnormalities in eye, basically cataracts and hearing disability. So a syndrome of sensory hearing loss, eye symptoms and renal symptoms is defining Alport syndrome. So I hope my PowerPoint presentations are clear to you. That's all for today's video. Thank you.